Hi, everyone. Welcome to CMO Chats. Really great to be here. My name's David Keene. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Europe at Wipro.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what sparked your interest in marketing?
So what sparked my interest in marketing? I was a technologist originally. So I was an engineer, loved building products, loved coding, got very, very tied up in helping people understand technology, helping people understand what technology could do. And I kind of got pulled into that communications side of the technology world. So my background is really from engineer through to marketeer.
So what does your company do?
Okay, so Wipro is one of the world's biggest system integrators. What we do is we run the infrastructure for transforming many of the largest companies on the planet's IT, for delivering their services, from running their supply chains through to implementing generative AI, for example, which is one of the things we're getting a lot of pull through on at the moment. So we run the technology for some of the world's biggest companies.
And as the CMO at Wipro, what is currently your main marketing focus?
So there's a range of focuses at the moment. If we look at different types of solutions, and remember, I'm the European CMO, so I really focus on the European markets. So we're running a lot of activity around AI, data science, analytics, machine learning, generative AI, large language models, etc. We've got an awful lot of interest from customers on that. Really trying to figure out how do they move forward with AI and data science, and how do they use it to scale and to deliver advantage? So that's one of the kind of areas. One of the other interesting solution areas is around sustainability and how people can move towards how organizations can move towards net zero, dealing with the sustainability directives in Europe, etc. So they're two of the really big, maybe non-traditional kind of areas that we're working on at the moment.
Thank you. And can you tell me about a particularly innovative or successful marketing campaign that your team has recently executed?
So we've been doing an awful lot of account-based marketing and pursuit marketing at the moment. So I think without naming specific organizations, I think the really innovative stuff that we're doing is mapping intent very clearly from the top of the funnel. When organizations are in market and they're looking for particular things, through to actually influencing the sales cycle around those. So really intent-based, and also moving away from kind of traditional tracking and cookie-based data sources, moving more towards permission-based marketing and using some of the really cool marketing technologies that are out there for that upper funnel area. That to me is one of the most exciting things in marketing today.
What would you say are your biggest marketing challenges at the moment?
The world out there is not booming in the way that it was booming, during COVID for IT. So we've gone through this period of the pandemic and we've come out of the other side, and the world has a little bit of a hangover, shall we say. So really it's just working through that. And what we're seeing kind of green shoots coming through. We're seeing the markets picking up. We're seeing growth start to come back. We're seeing those bigger projects start to emerge again. So I think one of the challenges that we all see is there's an expectation by the markets that things will go quickly and move quickly. And actually it's a slow recovery that we're in right now, but it's a solid recovery.
The world has a hangover has to be one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard. I have not heard that before, but it's such a good way of describing it.
It's true. If you think about what happened, we had the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. We then went into kind of recovery from that. We then got hit by like various other things that happened. We then had the pandemic, at which point, digital transformation, digital in all forms just completely exploded. We then got hit by the post-pandemic come down and the Ukraine war and kind of energy prices changing, etc. And the whole thing around shipping and, things being in the wrong place. The world does have a hangover right now. And it's maybe a really interesting way to think about it. And you know what? Hangovers go. You kind of need to take a day where you chill, you hang out a little, you look after yourself, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing growth starting to return, and the hangover maybe is starting to recede a little bit.
Thank you. How does Wipro stay ahead of its competitors in terms of marketing?
So we really focus on people, we focus on the solutions that we're positioning, we focus on our messaging, and we focus on really understanding what the organization that we're working with, the customer, the prospect, whatever you want to call them, how they look at the world. So we put the customer at the heart of this, and that's really key to the way that we move forward with marketing and how we are successful with both marketing, sales, and also delivery for the clients. And I think linking that delivery piece back, any organization is only as good as the delivery that comes in. And I'm sure many of you have been through, maybe people listening to this podcast will have been through situations where they've been promised the moon during a sales cycle. And then the reality comes and all those people who made those promises vanish. And you've got another group of folks who come in. We really try and focus on making sure that all delivery is super high quality and that the promises that are made are kept and that you get consistency with people. This is a people game and a delivery game. So we're only as good as that last delivery project that we do.
What do you think are the biggest opportunities that are available to CMOs today that may not have been available before?
So I think the opportunity there for CMOs is to engage with change properly. So coming back to my hangover comment, I wish I'd not said that now. What happened we went through COVID and the pandemic and everything went online. Everything was webinar, everything was Zoom. We came out of the pandemic, everything was physical, everything was in person, everything was a breakfast briefing and a round table. We're beyond that now. And I think my advice to CMOs today would be to think about the marketing mix that they're focused on. So think about how they use the right tactics for the right target segments, for the right messages, and how they blend with demand and brand together so that they leverage each other and that they don't just go all in on one channel or one segment, that they actually balance those. I think the other big thing that I see that the CMO community talks about an awful lot, and I think is really important, is having a seat at the top table. So as a CMO, you need to have a strong relationship with the other C-suite members. So obviously the chief executive, but also whoever's leading sales, finance, the product teams, the services teams, etc. You need to be seen as an equal partner in that conversation, and you need to kind of ride alongside sales through the sales funnel. So looking at that whole sales funnel from the very top of the funnel all the way through to closing and then expanding those deals is really, really important for today's CMO.
In your opinion, what does the future of marketing look like?
So the future of marketing moves away from, this traditional marketing view is that we create a marketing qualified lead, we pass it to sales and we walk away. That's not the future. The future is looking at the whole funnel that you're engaged in and actually moving beyond even this idea of a pipeline or a funnel and moving to the idea of a journey. So to me, marketing is all about helping buyers through the journey that they come to actually make a decision. And more, it's about helping a group of buyers to make that decision. Any large purchase that's being made is going to be made by a group of people, whether it's, $1 billion outsourcing project to a system integrator, or even down to kind of, replacing your car or like buying a new kitchen. You've got a bunch of folks that are involved in this. So as marketeers, we need to move away from this idea of we're targeting one persona, one ICP with one message or one asset, to thinking about that group of people that are engaged and the journey that group go on all the way from start to end.
Thank you. Now, this next one is my favorite because we get some really interesting answers. If you could describe the role of the CMO in one word, what would that word be and why?
I'd say fun. So to me, the role of the CMO is great. You get to do some really fun things. You get to run events, which is just like organizing a party. You get to do creative work. You get to do design. You get to kind of, work on how your employees perceive your organization through the employee branding side of things. You get to work with sales. You get to work with customers. You get to do the whole thing. And you've got this kind of breadth and engagement with so many pieces of the business world. You get to see so many pieces of it. You can get to be really very, very kind of T-shaped in the way that you can engage across the organization. So I think fun is probably the word that I would. I love marketing. Marketing is a passion of mine. And being involved in all of those different puzzles is something that I think is amazing for CMOs.
Love this one. Had not heard fun yet, but that's going to be one of my favorites.
At least I didn't say hangover.
That'll be the theme of this one, of this,
Yeah.
The hangover. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah, exactly.
What is a piece of traditional leadership advice that you think doesn't apply to the modern CMO?
Would do both does and doesn't. So traditional leadership advice that doesn't apply, I'd say, is measuring everything with data. So traditional leadership is all around measuring everything, killing yourself with measurement. Don't do that. That's really not going to help you, because the world has become both quantitative and qualitative. So you need to have a gut feel. You need to have a sense of what's happening, how people are feeling. You need to have empathy for people. It's really hard to put a KPI on empathy. So your team are the people who are delivering. They are the people who are innovating. They're the people who are doing cool stuff. If you measure them to death, it's not going to work. So marketing has gone down this kind of route of this black hole, maybe, of measuring everything and thinking that the measurement is the main purpose of marketing. It's not. Great marketing is about being creative and stepping beyond the measurement. And with AI coming along, there's a really interesting kind of change that happens there. AI is very good at measuring things and optimizing measurements, whether it's around keyword placement or kind of text that gets a click or whatever it is. People are really good at being creative and thinking outside of the box and moving beyond the pure KPI. So my traditional piece of leadership that I'm not going to apply is don't be a slave to the KPIs. Move beyond them, think beyond them, be bigger, be smarter. And maybe if I just give you one short traditional piece of leadership that does apply, it's actually be there for people, meet people in the flesh. Don't just spend your life on Zoom calls or Teams calls. Go hang out with people, go see them, drink coffee with them, go have dinner. Many organizations have forgotten how to engage as people, and you get so much more when you come together in person. I'm a huge believer in a hybrid workplace rather than a remote workplace. Probably get me some trolling and hate mail from that. I'm sorry, remote workplace folks. I see such value in getting together in a room, talking about things, using a whiteboard, kind of, riffing, having fun, laughing, enjoying yourself, going for a walking meeting, going with somebody for a walk and talking about stuff. There's a different dynamic there from doing that. So actually being present is my traditional leadership skill.
Love that. And I completely agree with you. We are technically remote workers, but we do have an office, and I'm in the office every day. And I encourage my team to be here as much as possible, because I think there's nothing like being in a room and actually having someone next to you and just forming ideas, which you would never do otherwise. So I get a lot of hate for that as well, but I think there's nothing like it. I agree.
It applies to marketing in general as well. So, everything has gone digital. So we've really pivoted heavily into the digital world. And the things that I see cutting through best are often physical activities or hybrid digital and analog activities. So, out of home advertising, print media, sending people things, very kind of tactile, real world engagements, experiential marketing as well, it really, really makes a difference. And if you can get that balance, that blend of digital and analog together, you get magic coming out of that. And you can't optimize that with AI. That's something that people use their intuition and their creativity and their skills to do.
Now, the last question, what career advice would you like to share with other marketing leaders?
Don't be too safe. My career, I've been through various different steps. I was an engineer. I then moved to be a trainer. I then moved into product management. And from product management, I got an opportunity to move into product marketing and really enjoyed traveling and kind of going around the world. And this is before having kids and stuff. So I jumped into that. I grabbed it. I didn't really, it wasn't a formal career plan that I had, but doors opened and I walked through them. So my advice to any young marketeer or any kind of marketeer developing their career, which should be everybody, is challenge yourself, make yourself uncomfortable, walk through those doors when they open, take risks. You can always go back and do something different. It's not the end of the world. And I had really, really senior roles at SAP, at Oracle, at Salesforce, at Google. And after Google, I left Google and went to a startup, a tiny little startup, tiny little fintech, because I just wanted to move away from having, 200,000 people in the organization, big budgets, all of that kind of stuff. And I wanted to get there to being hands-on again and being able to roll up my sleeves and to be able to kind of get involved in the kind of things that you get involved in a small organization. So take risks, stay grounded. Remember that it's all about people. It's all about your team. It's all about the customer. It's all about the other people in your organization. So focus on them and focus on how you get a better outcome by bringing people together.